Memories are timeless treasures of the heart. Join us as we share weekly obituaries in memoriam reflections and loving tributes. We hope you find solace in the memories shared. In loving memory. Stefan Anderson Antonio Blanchette. Mavis Elaine Chase. Ronda Maureen Clark, née Gooden. Clarence Whitfield Eastman, affectionately known as Ben. Valerie Alicia Ford. Susan Shirlene Hinkson. Dwayne M. Mitchell, affectionately known as Big D. Marva Odessa Hinder Cumberbatch. George Adelonda Phillips. Romario Baggio Roach. Estelita Naomi Samuel. Wendy Victoria Scott, also known as Vicky. Stefan Anderson Antonio Blanchette, aged 39, of Kensington New Road, St. Michael, clerical officer of the Barbados Drug Service, son of Barbara Blanchette and Keith Blanchette, brother of Natasha Mears and Leanne Blanchette, uncle of LaShawn Blanchette, Safia Seeley, and Samara Mears, nephew of Marva, Eric, Beverly, Angela, and Glyne Blanchette, Cynthia Innes, Grace Aline, Hartnold, James and Leroy Devonish. Cousin of Sheena Aline Jones, Kimberly Aline Pinder, Beverly Bascom, Matthew Connell, Tremaine and Shanika Blanchette, Sean Cadogan, Ian and Paul Innes, Sheldon and Melissa Devonish, and many others. Friend of Jason and Sean Clark, Ian Scott, Dawn Callender, Corey Brown, Tamara Hall, Taisha Watson, and many others. Relative of the Walton, Mapp, Connell, Bascom, and Devonish families. A memorial service for the late Stefan Anderson Antonio Blanchette takes place in the chapel of Westbury Cemetery on Wednesday, June 14, 2023 at 2 p.m., where relatives and friends are asked to meet. The organist is kindly asked to attend. No flowers by special request. Condolences may be sent to Keith Jones Funerals at caribsurf.com. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Keith Jones Funeral Home, Passage Road, St. Michael. Mavis Elaine Chase, aged 87, of Enterprise Gardens, Christchurch, entered peacefully into rest on May 31, 2023. Mother of Beverly Dunawa, Michael Chase and Sandra Tate. Mother-in-law of Patrick Dunawa, Pamela Bourne Chase and Gary Tate. Grandmother of Quincy, Umara, Jamila, Tajani Chase, Chase and Kaya Tate. Great-grandmother of Matthew, Abigail, Miles, Jasmine and Amir. Sister-in-law of Ira Thomas, aunt of Marcel, Yvette, Mary, Susan, Philip, Andy and Mark. Great-aunt of Ryan. Friend of Joyce Walters, Matrid Brathwaite, Muriel Worrell, and Lorna Gibson. A service of celebration and thanksgiving will be held on Tuesday, June 13, 2023, at Bethlehem Moravian Church, Christchurch, where relatives and friends are asked to meet at 2 p.m. The cortege will then proceed to Serenity Lawns at Coral Ridge Memorial Gardens for the interment. In lieu of flowers, donations towards the Barbados Cancer Society will be graciously accepted. The body of the late Mavis Elaine Chase will repose in the Colin Parkinson Memorial Chapel, Lyndhurst Funeral Home, on Monday, June 12, 2023, from 4 p.m. until 6 o'clock. Condolences may be sent to www.lyndhurstfuneralhome.com. The family invites you to view the live streaming of the service via lyndhurstfuneralhome.com/events/Mavis-Chase. We thank God for the life of Ronda Maureen Clark, née Gooding, of Marwin Maxwell Christchurch, who entered into rest on Friday, May 26, 2003, at the age of 72 years. Retired Executive Secretary of the National Petroleum Corporation, daughter of the late Charles and Ione Gooding, granddaughter of the late Millicent Holmes, mother of Shane Hines, grandmother of Sean, Shannon and Aaron Hines, great-grandmother of Cyan and Stefan Hines, sister of Brenda Moore, the late Tyrone and Ernest Gooding, Heather Tomlinson and Anthony Sandiford, aunt of Nicole and Andre Gooding, Brian Tomlinson, Matthew Moore, Megan Sandiford, Michelle Penny and Gregory Brathwaite, niece of Norma Brathwaite and the late David Holmes, sister-in-law of Honor Gooding, Sheila Sandiford, Alex Tomlinson, and the late Robert Moore and Faye Gooding, relative of the Holmes family. The funeral leaves Clyde B. Jones Funeral Home, Top Rock Christchurch, tomorrow Monday, June 12 at 8:15 a.m. for St. Martin's Anglican Church, St. Martin St. Philip, where relatives and friends are warmly invited for a service of thanksgiving for her life at 10 a.m., followed by the interment in the churchyard. You may also join the family via live stream at ClydeBJonesFuneralHome.com to celebrate Rhonda's life. Clarence Whitfield Eastman, affectionately known as Ben, aged 84, of Lower Passage Road, St. Michael, retired funeral director at Keith Jones Funeral Home, taxi driver at Jones Garage Limited, and well-known dance fan, husband of the late Gloria Eastman, son of the late Keita Eastman Garnes and C.A. Erie Hoppin, Esquire, father of Stephen of the Barbados Port Inc. and Wayne Hoyt of NCC, Rosalind Clark of SJPI and Nicole Curtin of ICBL, brother of Fernando Gaskin, Todd, and Jenny, grandfather of Kelson and Keelan Clark, stepfather of Michelle Cadogan of the USA, cousin of Cameron and Raul Eastman and family, Yvonne Holder and family, friend of Keith Jones, Nancy Phillips, Joyce Payne, Sharon Barton, the Goodrich family, Marjorie Holder, caregiver, the staff of the Jones Garage Limited, Keith Jones Funeral Home, and many others too numerous to mention. The funeral of the late Clarence Whitfield Eastman leaves Keith Jones Funeral Home, Passage Road, St. Michael, on Thursday, June 15, 2023, for the chapel of Coral Ridge Memorial Gardens, the Ridge Christchurch, where relatives and friends are asked to meet at 10 a.m. for a service of thanksgiving, followed by the interment in the Frangipani Lawns. Family and friends are invited to visit the chapel of Keith Jones Funeral Home from 4:30 p.m. until 6 o'clock on Wednesday, June 14, 2023. Live streaming of the funeral service and interment may be viewed via keithjonesfunerals.live/Clarence Eastman. Valerie Alicia Ford of Harrison's Tenantry, St. Lucie, entered peacefully into rest at age 66. General Worker of the National Conservation Commission, NCC, member of the North Stars Cultural and Sports Club, daughter of the late Alda Ford and Rainsfred Lashley, mother of Quincy Ford of the SSA, Lisa Babb of CXC, Larry Babb of TBPS, grandmother of Sharika Harris, Ebony, Marcus and Jamali Lovell, Ezekiel Ford, Raina Chase and Brennan Babb, sister of Sylvia Bishop, Frank, Magna, John, Jeffrey, Madeline, Adwin and Edison Ford, and the late Eleanor Armstrong, aunt of Sean, Keela, Keisha, Marcel, and many others, cousin of Floline Burrows, Alvena Ford, and many others, mother-in-law of Latoya Moore, sister-in-law of Rosaline and Caroline Ford, and the late Elsie Prescott, relative of the Ford, Babb, Lashley, and Cadogan families, friend of Anita Babb, Judith Griffith, Sabrina Brooms, Maureen Lopez, Abraham Brathwaite, Patricia Patsy White, Lucine Harris, Kenrick Belgrave, Alpheus Carrington, Lana Foster, and Commercial Group of NCC. The funeral of the late Valerie Alicia Ford leaves Earl's Funeral Home, Half Moon Fort, St. Lucie, on Friday, June 16, 2023, for the Chapel of Mount Pleasant Memorial Gardens, Pleasant Hall, St. Peter, where relatives and friends are asked to meet for the service of Thanksgiving at 2 p.m. The funeral will then proceed to New Haven Lawns, Mount Pleasant Memorial Gardens, for the interment. Live streaming of the funeral may be viewed via watch.earlsfuneralhome.com/Valerie Ford. Susan Shirlene Hinkson, late of Arthur's Road, Parishland, St. George, died peacefully at home on Wednesday, May 24, 2023. Daughter of the late Carville Graham, née Hinkson, and Earl Thornhill. Stepdaughter of Elliot Graham. Granddaughter of the late Ina Thornhill. Loving mother of Vinnie Clark and Zuri Hinkson. Beloved sister of Dolores Johnson, Carlos, Wendell, Karen, Sylvan, and Roger Hinkson. Aunt of Mario, Jonathan, Enrico, Deshawn, Tatiana, Omari, Ria, Rashana, and Neffy. Sister-in-law of Eric and Andrea Hinkson. Niece of Clarence, Lorraine, Eric, Sheila, Judy, David, and the late Winston Hinkson and Elaine Thornhill. Great-niece of Doris and Lucille Brathwaite. Cousin of Susan, David, Nadine, Waveney, Monica, Natalie, Allison, Janai Garland, Peggy, Haven, and others. The funeral of the late Susan Shirlene Hinkson leaves Belmont Funeral Home, Belmont Road, St. Michael, on Friday, June 16, 2023, for St. George Parish Church, where relatives and friends are asked to meet at 3:30 p.m. for the graveside service, followed immediately by the interment. No mourning colors by special request. The service may be viewed via live stream at www.belmontfuneralhome.live/Susan Hinkson. On Monday, May 29, 2023, beloved Dwayne M. Mitchell, affectionately known as Big D of Duncan's St. Philip, entered into rest at the age of 36. Hydraulic technician of Barbados Light and Power Company Limited and former employee of Automotive Art. Loving husband of Shauna Mitchell of PriceSmart, son of Norman Mitchell and the late Angela Mitchell. Grandson of Patricia Mitchell and Eudavine Griffith. Cherished father of Darren and Summer Ray Mitchell. Brother of Samantha Archer of Barbados Light and Power Company Limited. Nephew of Esther, Sophia, Jennifer, Wendell, Lloyd, Dave, and Junior Archer, Sonia Adams, Maria Mitchell, David, and Frederica Austin. Uncle of Jeremy Blunt, son-in-law of Veronda King and Richard Benjamin, brother-in-law of Wayne Blunt of Barbados Light and Power Company Limited. Fabian, Corey, Rico, Rashid, Shane, Janique, Naya, Shadika, Shakita, and Mia. A service of thanksgiving celebrating Dwayne's life takes place on Tuesday, June 13th at Pegwell Community Church, Pegwell Christchurch, at 10 a.m., where relatives and friends are invited to attend. The cortege will then proceed to Christchurch Cemetery for the interment. You may join the family via live stream at ClydeBJonesFuneralHome.com. No mourning colors by special request. George Adelonda Phillips of 6th Avenue, Kingsland Gardens, and formerly of Graham Hall Park, Christchurch, entered into eternal rest on Tuesday, May 23, 2023. George worked in the hotel industry for most of his life and was a manager at the Caribbean Beach Hotel, Escape Hotel, Waves, and the Almond Beach Resort, to name a few. George was an avid cricket fan, having played himself, and a former vice president of the Maxwell Sports Club. He was raised by his beloved grandmother, Monty Squires, now deceased, in Black Rock, St. Michael. Son of the late Meta Phillips and George Maitland, husband of Mariette Phillips of ICAB. Father of Linda, Vincent Sr., Desiree, Cheryl, Alexander, Kari, and Dominique, Andre, all of the USA. Stepfather of Jeffrey Prescott. Grandfather of Jamila, Vincent Jr., Andre, Araya, and Olivia. Great-grandfather of Tristan and Parker, both of the USA. Brother of Walter, Milanese, Winston, Sally, Jenny, Ricky, Linda, Michael, and Winfield, and Carol. Brother-in-law of Peter, Marjorie, Arlene, Marvin, Beverly, Tyrone, Ingrid, and Tricia. Relative of the Phillips, Squires, and Eiffel families. A service of celebration and thanksgiving takes place on Thursday, June 15th at the chapel of Coral Ridge Memorial Gardens, The Ridge Christchurch, at 2 p.m., where relatives and friends are asked to meet, followed by the interment in the flamboyant lawns. You may also join the family via live stream at ClydeBJonesFuneralHome.com. Marva Odessa Pinder Cumberbatch, affectionately known as Dessa or Grandmother, of Greens Main Road, St. George, entered peacefully into rest on May 28, 2023. Daughter of the late Whitfield and Clementine Pinder, wife of Keith Cumberbatch, mother of Judith Cumberbatch Wiggins, Barry Kinte, and Kizzy Cumberbatch, and the late David Cumberbatch, stepmother of Adrian White, grandmother of Siobhan Cummings White, Patrice Cummins, Iman, Nikayla, Zemani, Zion, Zaire, and Kaylee Cumberbatch, Kendria Wiggins, and 3 others, great-grandmother of 5, sister of Simeon Pinder and the late Antoinette Wood, aunt of Beverly, Trevor, Edwin, and Basil Wood, and Marcia Gay, sister-in-law of Desmond Smith and many others, mother-in-law of Philip Wiggins, cousin of Janest Suttle, Diane Holdup, Patsy Hurst, Henderson Pinder, Leslie Padmore, and many others, friend of Grace Stanton, Doriel Rollins, and many others. The funeral of the late Marva Odessa Pinder Cumberbatch leaves Belmont Funeral Home, Belmont Road, St. Michael, on Wednesday, June 14, 2023, for the Greens Seventh-day Adventist Church, 2nd Avenue, Greens, St. George, where relatives and friends are asked to meet at 2:30 p.m. for the service. The cortege will then proceed to St. Jude's Anglican Churchyard for the interment. Romario Baggio Roach, affectionately known as Mario or Scrappy, of Greenwich's St. Lucy, tragically died on Friday, May 12, 2023, at age 24. Former employee of Hilton Barbados Resort, and also a construction worker. Loving son of Kalita Roach and Earl Rock, devoted father of Serenity Brooms, grandson of Arlette Roach and Winston Brathwaite, Grace Rock, the late Grantley Barrow and Trevor Bailey, great-grandson of Sheila Rock and the late Iretha Roach, brother of Charisse and Kyra Roach, nephew of Al Roach of Ace H&B Hardware, Gleason Roach of Williams Solar, Cavril Roach, Patrona Gibson of Sandals Resort and Spa, Rudolph Rock, Sheldon, Jason and Cindy Bailey, Keisha Mahon, Rico Barrow, and Richard Duglin. Godson of Harold Holder, godfather of Tinaya Brooms. The funeral of Romario, Baggio Roach, leaves Earl's Funeral Home, Half Moon Fort, St. Lucie, on Wednesday, June 14, 2023, for St. Lucie's Parish Church near Nestfield, St. Lucie, where relatives and friends are asked to meet for the service of Thanksgiving and interment at 3:30 p.m. Live streaming of the funeral may be viewed via watch.earlsfuneralhome.com/Romario Roach. Estelita Naomi Samuel, affectionately known as Sister Cato, EC, ES, Miss Sam, Sammy, and Mom. Aged 78, of 1st Avenue, Lower Carlton, St. James, and formerly of Dixon Village, Georgetown, St. Vincent. Retired worker of National Housing Corporation. Wife of the late Julian Samuel. Loving mother of Jason Paris Paddock of the UK and Jacintha Paris of Landfall Villa, Sandy Lane, St. James. Stepmother of Nelika and Judy of St. Vincent. Beloved grandmother of PC 1968 Gregory Paris of the Barbados Police Service. Tamisha Goddard of First Caribbean International Bank. Tanya Gibson of St. Vincent. Dario Paris of the UK. Sade Paris of Anderson's Funeral Home and Shadia Williams of National Petroleum Corporation. Great-grandmother of Aisha Knott of the UK and Autumn Robbins of the UK. Sister of Petra Cato, Cora Brown of St. Vincent, Edville Cato of St. Vincent, Ambrose Cato, Zephrinus Cato, and the late Burnett Cato. Aunt of Glenn and Dale Cato and 8 others. Great-aunt of 11. Sister-in-law of Cachita Cato and 2 others. Extended family of Reverend Cordelia Gibson, Reverend Vida and Joseph Bracken, all of St. Vincent, and many others. Relative of the Cato family of St. Vincent, and many others. The Thanksgiving service for the life of Estelita Naomi Samuel will be held at the Garden Church of God, The Garden, St. James, on Monday, June 12th at 2 p.m., followed by the interment at St. James Cemetery. The service may be viewed via live stream at www.inlovingmemory.online/Estelita Samuel. Wendy Victoria Scott, also known as Vicky, aged 71, of Pounders Gap, Westbury Road, and Mans Gap Passage Road, St. Michael. Member of Ebenezer Gospel Tabernacle, Westbury Road, St. Michael. Daughter of the late Wesley and Antoinette Henry. Adoptive daughter of the late Daphne Gill. Mother of Winston, Jennifer and Valdez Scott, and Paula Brewster. Grandmother of Aisha Moore. Jaleesa Medford of the USA. Shamar, Keon, Kimani, and Brittany Scott. Jacoby and Jelano Brewster, and O'Shea Mashia. Great-grandmother of Sahara Wharton Scott and Jayla Moore Bryan. Sister of Maria Grant, Francita, Gardine, and John Henry. Arlene Phillips of the USA. Virginia Burnett, Stanley Scott, Sophia James, Dawn Fagan, and the late Gloria. Grantley and Zarina Marinda Scott. Arthur Coleman, and Ramel Henry. adoptive sister of Vincent and Elmonda Gill, mother-in-law of Orlando Brewster and Sherwin Small. A service of celebration for the life of Wendy Victoria Scott will take place on Monday, June 12, 2023, at the Abundant Life Assembly, Haynes Hill Bank Hall, St. Michael, where relatives and friends are asked to meet at 10 a.m. The cortege will then proceed to Westbury Cemetery for the interment. Mourning colors are optional. Live streaming of the funeral service and burial may be viewed via keithjonesfunerals.live/Wendy Scott. A light went out on earth for me the day we said goodbye, and on that day a star was born, the brightest in the sky, reaching through the darkness with its rays of purest white, lighting up the heavens as it once lit up my life. With beams of love to heal the broken heart you left behind, where always in my memory your lovely star will shine.
This week, we remember
Marva Elise Bowen, Maureen Patricia Bancroft, Lloyd Anderson Clark,
Marcille Cynthia Codrington ne Estwick,
Lilo Griffith, Denzel Henderson Graves,
Vernon Thorell Haynes, Evelyn Ernesta Hines,
Stephen Carlisle Kelman. One of the greatest comforts in times of sorrow is the expression of sympathy conveyed in many ways. The team at In Loving Memory thanks you on behalf of the families for your expressions of sympathy at this time.